Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Comstock's channel, accelerating the commercialization of decarbonization. As always, joining to discuss some very pivotal news here, Corrado, the CEO. First and foremost, welcome, sir.
Thanks, Kyle. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. And I want to dive right into this because Comstock Fuels and emerging fuels technology advance SAF and other renewable fuel yields was kind of the headline that I think is probably pretty important to pick apart. So maybe tell us what this means.
Yeah, it's remarkable. Our biggest claim to fame is we're producing 125 gasoline gallon equivalents per one dry ton of wood. Now, that's remarkable in the context that we think the next best competitor is barely over 60 gasoline gallon equivalents. So we're proud to say we're double the yields of the next guy. And this is really what's launched our commercialization efforts, the attractiveness of those extremely high yields. However, as we were validating those yields with a very good technical partner, Emerging Fuels Technologies in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Kenna G, the CEO, who was delighted to tell us that they were hydrocracking fuels and that they were coming up with 125 plus gallons. It was a really nice download. He started telling us about his technology, right, where he takes gas to liquids, and that by capturing CO2, he can produce gallons of sustainable aviation fuel, and that he was getting some real strategic partners behind him on that. And we said, well, wait a minute, tell us a little bit more about how you do that. And long story short, we license their technology now. We've added it to the Comstock portfolio, and we can add another 15 gasoline gallon equivalents from our system. So same dry ton of wood, now pushing 140 plus gasoline gallon equivalents. It's truly remarkable, the outcome, and it's also indicative of our systemic view, right? We believe we're stronger together with these extraordinary innovators and extraordinary, engineers and material scientists.
Yeah, definitely appreciate the insight there. You're also expanding your global commercial agreements as you're kind of expanding with that fifth major fuel license agreement. Do you want to kind of discuss this partner, kind of the value of it, what it means for the company?
Yeah. It's really great. I mean, I think, our investors really reacted in the third quarter. I think it was early September, late September, early October, even November, with a series of announcements about Australia, Vietnam. It caught some people by surprise that our global adoption was broader and faster. And so the other thing that was really remarkable was the economics of these licenses because of the yields, because of the impact, because of the powerful SAF, sustainable aviation fuel production. Governments, regions, jurisdictions around the world are very aggressively needing to get these aviation fuels and extremely low carbon fuels in place. So we got 6% engineering fees, which, just for the four projects that were previously announced, is $250 million of revenue for us over the next 3 years. We then got 6% sustainable royalties into perpetuity from the production of those facilities. That's in addition, and a 20% equity stake in each project. Now, the first four that I just mentioned were with the same company, so it stood to reason, right? The economics would be the same. But we just, as you alluded to, announced our fifth deal in Pakistan. And the Pakistani government is hell-bent on decarbonization. Gresham's Eastern, who is our partner, was hired by the World Bank as a senior advisor around the Pakistani decarbonization study. They've also been making diesel and gasoline generation sets for major automotive companies for almost 30 years. And those companies are companies like Daimler Chrysler, Hyundai, these major international companies, using power and energy generating equipment. The other thing is they've been in business for 6 decades and have an extremely powerful engineering competency around energy generation. So we were thrilled. They had assessed our technology. They had assessed our technology against a lot of different standards and chose us as the winner. And so we couldn't be more thrilled. The economics are the same. So these economics, this economic model for licensing globally is really sticking. And it doesn't, I wouldn't say it speaks to our ability to negotiate. It really speaks to the power of the financial model, right? It's a win-win all the way around. Now, what I would like to mention though, because I think, when you think about licensing a tech, you think, hey, you connect with a company, they pay you a license, they give you royalty, and they adopt your tech. It's more than that, right? What our licensees have to qualify for, what we have to make sure that they can do is the following, right? They have to secure a monumental amount of available feedstock. They have to secure a site, right? They have to ensure that the site has the infrastructure, both power, logistics, et cetera. They have to secure offtake. They have to ensure engineering and they have to ensure operating capabilities. So when we find a partner that can do those five things, those are the major ones, then we get very excited because essentially they're preparing that site, right? They're enabling that project. Some of them are engineers or engineering firms that have done this for a living. Some of them are biofuel operators. Some of them are major renewable fuel companies. We're talking to the entire spectrum, but it isn't one company or one individual. It's the capability to enable that regional supply chain. And we don't want to be setting up companies in Pakistan, hiring Pakistani teams and trying to do this on our own, right? We want the local expert licensing and technology driving it through. They have to have community relationships. They have to have, ecosystem relationships, including businesses, including support, and including the government, frankly. And so Gresham's Eastern top of the list for us in terms of that kind of company. We couldn't be prouder to be working. Mian Hussein, it's a 6-decade business. I know he's been the CEO for at least 30 years, maybe even a little longer than that. And so that kind of maturity, is fantastic for us as a partner.
So let's just try and encapsulate this heading into the beginning of 2025 here. What should investors focus on? Is it something we can expect to see continue with more licensing agreements? Is that something you're chasing? Tell us maybe an idea of what we're headed toward.
Yeah, I think you're going to see both many more licensing agreements of similar ilk, different jurisdictions, right? And you're going to see our own facilities being infrastructured in the exact same way we just described. Oklahoma has leapt out, as the leader, recently giving us a $3 million incentive to locate there, identify a site there, and start everything you and I just talked about: feedstock, site, infrastructure, offtake. We're simultaneously working the offtake discussions with a number of the leading renewable fuel companies in the country, certainly, if not the world. And so I think just the continuous notion of site by site by site, ultimately, we expect hundreds, of these facilities. The other part of it, of course, is financing those activities. Every one of our licensees is raising and pooling the capital at their local jurisdiction for their project, which of course we have stakes in. And then we're doing the same thing, working with local government, federal government, bankers, investors, and strategic financial partners, as well as financial partners. People are aware of who we're talking to, and we're making good progress to bring all that to bear. So we're going to have a hell of a busy first half of 2025.
Well, lots to look forward to as we pass it off to the viewers. Consider subscribing as news catalysts come down the wire like this. We're going to bring it to you here. But on that note, as always, we look forward to catching you in the next one.